Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing? Josh Poed with you. First Contact Radio. Let me jump into today's dream spell date for today. Today is the Yellow Electric Warrior. Yellow Electric Warrior, or the 7th day of the electric moon, which is the third moon. According to the dream spell systems, the third moon of the year, it's like the third month. The color for today is yellow. Yellow is about ripening. The tone for today is the electric tone. It's called the electric tone of activation. And the symbol for today is the warrior. The warrior asks questions and uses intelligence. And the guide for today is the sun. The sun's all about the power of universal fire. On the Gregorian calendar, it is Monday, September 26, 2011. So I hope your weekend went well, and I hope you're doing well today. We have quite a week coming up ahead of us. Not quite sure what's going to happen. We've been talking all about Elenin and how this week Elenin is going to be front and center as it passes in front of the sun and all the activities that are taking place down here on Earth around that. Mysterious indeed. We're going to get to all of those over the course of this show as much as we can. And we're going to start things off. I'm going to play a part of this video. This is a pretty good one. I saw it over this weekend. This one's about an hour long. I'm not going to play the whole thing right now. I'm going to play a part of it, and then the link will be up on the web page so that you can listen to the rest of it. It's called Elenin and the Sign in Egypt. Richard Hoagland is in this. There's others information in here. I think you're going to find this quite informative. So let me jump over to this and see what you think. Here we go. Comet Elenin and the Sign in Egypt connection.
Hi, this is Andre Hendrickson. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I want to share with you some truly remarkable information that I've been studying and that I've discovered concerning a connection that exists between Comet Elenin and the Sign in Egypt, according to the Bible. Now, just a quick update on Elenin. In this first section of this video segment, we're going to look at Elenin, and it's actually been confirmed that Elenin is under intelligent control. Then the second video section there is we're going to look at some video clips, some movies, and see how Hollywood has actually been revealing the purpose of Comet Elenin in its movies. Also, in our second part of this video series, we're going to look at Elenin and the Sign in Egypt and the amazing connection that there is between Elenin and the Pyramid of Giza. We're going to also look at some astonishing facts about the Pyramid of Giza. We're going to look at the Pyramid of Giza in scriptures. And finally, we're going to look at this connection I've been talking about concerning Elenin and the Pyramid of Giza. So let's get started straight away. In the first section, I want to talk to you very briefly and play you some clips that confirms, experts are confirming that this object is under intelligent control. There are many remarks about Comet Elenin and many theories about what this object might be. But recently I've come across some amazing observations by recognized authorities concerning the nature of this object. One notable expert with many years of experience in all things space is Richard C. Hoagland. Now, Richard has been on CNN and many radio stations, and while examining his findings on Comet Elenin, one thing is absolutely certain about is that Comet Elenin is not a comet. Now, if this object is not a comet, and if it's piloted by an intelligent force, that leaves the question, who is piloting it? And what are their intentions for visiting Earth later this fall? Now, I've listened to the entire radio interview of Richard giving his reasons for believing without a shadow of a doubt that this object is under intelligent control, but I've only highlighted some key remarks he makes to make the point and in the interest of saving time. The following clip is from a radio interview held in August of this year, 2011.
So I started looking at these numbers, and I began to see a pattern, and it was something that I wasn't looking for. I didn't intend to find it. It was completely serendipitous. In the classic definition of that term, I started seeing this amazing ritualistic pattern of 19.5. And I will give you some examples.
All right.
I actually had made a file to bring to the studio last Friday night Anyway, so I'm looking down through the earliest observation, and I look at this number, and it's, wait a minute, that can't be. He discovered it. Elenin discovered this thing when it was 19.5 magnitude. Okay. And I'm looking at the table right now. He took 4 plates, 4 CCD images, all of them 19.5. The next guy to take images and dump them into the system a couple nights later, it was 19.1.
And take just a quick minute, Richard, and explain to some people who are brand new to the show what this means when you say 19.5.
Well, we don't have the time. If you want to take calls in the last half hour, we do not have time. You have to go to my website.
Well, give us a highlight.
All right. If you take a tetrahedron, which is the simplest three-dimensional structure you can have in space-time, 3D, and you rotate it, just spin it in space.
All right.
A tetrahedron is an equilateral triangle, 4 of them pasted together. I'm sorry, 3 of them. And it has 4 sides, 4 vertices, 4 corners.
Like a pyramid.
It's basically a 4-sided pyramid. But the 4th side is not on the bottom, it's on the side. The pyramids in Egypt are really 5-sided. You know, they got 4 sides on each side, and then they're sitting on the 5th.
That's right.
So this is a classic. It turns out Bucky Fuller's work was all based around tetrahedral systems. It turns out a tetrahedron is the simplest three-dimensional object that you can create in three-dimensional space. It's the first eruption out of the plane or a line, that kind of simple geometry. It turns out if you put it in a sphere and you rotate the spheres and you put one of the points, one of the vertices on either the north or south pole, like a planet, let's say the Earth, the other 3 vertices will pop up either inside the northern or southern hemisphere, depending on where that 4th vertex is located, at either 19.5 degrees north or 19.5 degrees south.
Okay.
And when you look at planets, even the sun, energy eruptions on rotating celestial objects all across the universe, stars, planets, all the ones we can see in this system, the major eruptions, the major energy upwellings are at 19.5 degrees, give or take. I mean, physics is never exact. It's like a margin, like a range, like a window. So it's kind of 19.5. Actually, the precise mathematical definition is 19.47, but we always round it to 19.5.
Okay. So the fact that you could even get close to it with a lot of things that you have talked about over the years is pretty remarkable.
It's impossible. So I start looking. Let me riffle through my sheet here. All right. What I tried to do then is I started looking at these numbers, and the 19.5s kept popping up. I said, okay, how do I put this in a statistical format to where I can actually calculate the probability that this whole thing is just by chance? And what you do with probabilities, you take the probability of any individual coincidence, and then you multiply it by the probability of the next coincidence. Probabilities don't add, they multiply, which means if you have a string of improbable things that happen, bing, 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 one right after another, the end of that string can really grow enormous very, very quickly. The odds of Elenin actually visiting the Earth in any one period of time, in other words, any one particular day, is basically 1 in 365, right?
Should.
Why is the closest approach on September 11th? Not the 9th, not the 12th, but the 10th and 11th. Now, why is it also the 10th? Because it starts in one part of the Earth, and then as the spacecraft moves around the sun, it's closest to the sun for a slice of the Pacific, a portion of the Earth, on September 11th. Now, September 11th, as we know historically, 10 years ago, is a hugely important date. But just forget that it's historically important. Just say, what are the odds that on any particular day that there would be something occur? Well, the odds are 1 in 365, right?
That's right.
So you have to multiply that 19.5 odds I just gave you, which is 1 in 45.2, by 365. Okay? Now, if you pin it down to the fact that it's the 10th anniversary, it's not 9 years, it's not 12 years after our 9/11.
It's 10.
Horrified us. You have to multiply that by 10. You see how this rapidly begins to escalate up? So let me move through my view graphs here. Okay.
But are these are not numbers that people have created?
Oh, no.
They're there, right? They are what they are.
They are in the ephemeris. They're in the orbit of the comet. Okay, let me give you the last one that's really amazing. Well, two last ones. Elenin approaches closest to the Earth on October 16th. Remember, it's now approaching the sun. It'll turn around the sun in a hairpin turn. That's the way gravity and Kepler's laws work on the 10th, 11th.
And then here it comes.
And then it'll be moving toward the Earth. We're moving toward it. It will cross our bow 22 million miles away on the afternoon, evening of October 16th at 19 hours 50 minutes.
Oh, come on.
No, serious, right in the ephemeris. You start looking at this, okay, let me give you what the odds are now that we're up to. The odds of all these coincidences being just coincidence, 230 million to 1 against chance.
With all those 19.5s.
With all those 19.5s. But I'm not done. Remember at Ronco, the guy says, but there's more.
Yeah.
Okay? Elenin is listed by JPL as a hyperbolic comet.
What does that mean?
It means it's never been here before and never will be here again.
It's gone.
It's gone. It's a one of. You know, it's a one of a kind. In fact, what's so bizarre, if you start doing some study of astronomy, in the entire history of astronomy, George, there has never been a hyperbolic comet recorded and verified by all of astronomy, ever. But coming in, JPL, NASA has been insisting from day one, this is a hyperbolic comet, meaning it's an interstellar visitor with an inclination to the orbit of the Earth of 1.84 degrees. So I look at that and I say, what are the odds that a random interstellar visitor, never seen before in the history of astronomy, which goes back hundreds of years, right?
Right.
Will have that specific inclination. And I do a simple calculation. There are 360 degrees in a circle, right?
Yep.
You simply divide 360 by 1.84. Now, if you could follow along at home, folks, with your calculator, and George, if you had a calculator there in the studio, you'd now be falling on the floor because the number that the calculator will spit out, 195. You have one chance in 195 of that coming up by chance. You multiply that by the 200 plus million I just gave you for the previous odds, we're now up to one chance in 45 billion with a B that this thing is accidental. In other words, all of these orbital parameters, the numbers, not me, the numbers say with a statistical, certitude you could take to Vegas and own the world if this was on your side, that 45 billion to 1, this thing has been designed. The orbit is not random. The orbit is as precise as NASA sending the Cassini spacecraft to Saturn.
Are you saying it's a craft of some type?
It is something. This is where I was several weeks ago. It's something which was sent to us with these specific parameters. Remember, if I go outside, George, in the winter, and you can't do that in Southern California, but in New England you can, and I roll up some snow and I throw it at somebody else, that is a specifically designed trajectory.
Right.
A fastball in Fenway Park is a specifically designed trajectory. The ball is manufactured. The snowball is just natural stuff. But the trajectory, the orbit, has been defined by an artificial intelligence, i.e. a human being.
Sent this way.
Sent this way. So whether Elenin, remember we're talking where I was weeks ago in my thinking, was natural or artificial, meaning it was just a comet or it was a spacecraft, was irrelevant because the numbers prove someone sent it. Now there's one other data point we have to hit before we go to calls.
All right.
I know we're running late on time, but if I don't do this, I'm going to kick myself in the morning. I sent you a couple of photographs a few days ago.
Richard, it is the morning.
And what did you see on the photos?
I saw a little tetrahedron.
Exactly. On the official NASA stereo B footage of the interaction a few days ago.
It looked like a floating pyramid.
It was the night that you and I were supposed to be in the studio here in Albuquerque. That night, Stereo B, which is one of these NASA solar spacecraft, took a sequence of video frames across millions of miles from Earth's orbit to about the orbit of Venus. That's the distance that Elenin was from the spacecraft that night, 23 million miles. And it photographed Elenin interacting with the solar wind, this spray of charged particles that's constantly blowing off the sun. And because of this ghostly impingement of this radiation in space around Elenin, suddenly a shape showed up, a geometric figure. Elenin appears to have a tetrahedrally shaped geometric, I can only call it a force field, which is interacting with the solar wind, with hydrogen and free protons and electrons that basically recombine to cause it to light up, kind of like glowing when it hits this screen. That shape, that geometry, is incredibly recursive of the geometry embodied in the trajectory. All those 19.5 numbers are now embodied in the shape of the field around this thing itself, meaning it's not just a Berkey bit. It cannot just be a comet. It has to be an actual ship with generators and computers and control, meaning it could do anything from here on. The dates to watch will be when it passes around the sun on the 11th, 9/11, when it is in conjunction with the Earth, which is on September 26th.
All right. All right, that's where we are going to stop for today. And there's a lot more to that. I'm going to try to get to it over the next day or two. But that in itself should be enough to get you going for today. Let me jump to a song. I'll be back. Wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of people.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing. What they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is Josh. This is the UFO News for today. So, first story. Right on the heels of what we just talked about, or what you just heard Richard Hoagland talking about, in regards to being intelligently controlled. One of the things that we've heard over the years, certainly through the studies of Zecharia Sitchin and others, that there's another planet out there called Nibiru. And Nibiru is the planet of the creator gods of Earth. Not necessarily of Earth itself, but certainly of the beings on Earth. So let me read this for you here. It's from latest-ufo-sightings.net. Nibiru is one of the names of the king of planets headed towards Earth. The supposed planet associated with Nemesis, Planet X, 10th and 12th planet, Marduk, the Destroyer, Red Dragon, Great Star, Comet of Doom, and many others. Nibiru has 7 moons, and its perihelion passages are associated with the return of the gods, in which gods always refer to demon. The Sumerian name, its long orbit, is Shar, while Hindu astrologer called it Treta Yuga. Ancient people labeled the destruction X as Kali Yuga, and viewed as its punishment for the world's sins. Many people, however, don't make the connection between the king-sized planet and massive Earth changes. In the Sumerian civilization, the Anunnaki were considered the extraterrestrial gods, resembling human, and stay with humans on Earth. They thrive on conquest, enslavement, and cannibalism of those under them, since they have been reduced in power. Several speculative writings regarding Nibiru and Anunnaki are based on the book of linguistic scholar Zecharia Sitchin entitled The 12th Planet. Nibiru's orbiting pattern supposedly gave the Anunnaki the advantage to observe many planets in its orbit. Nibiruans are often referred to as Anunnaki, which literally means they who came down from the heavens to the earth. Theoretically, the Nibiru were populated with technologically advanced alien race with traits of Satan, and called their home star Zeus. They were carnivorous, cannibalistic, and specialized in mind control as well. Mr. Sitchin is believed to have fabricated the Anunnaki lie on behalf of the Illuminati, which he actively involved with. It is said that various secret organizations have long believed in a coming political messiah, other than Jesus and the New World Order government. The core component of these organizations' secret knowledges and rituals and beliefs of alien gods and other ethereal entities. Mr. Sitchin claimed that his research coincided with many biblical texts that came highly original from Sumerian writings. No one will ever know, however, except the Almighty God, whether Sitchin contributed to these fabrications or was just used by Masonic deceivers. Well, I was fortunate enough in this lifetime to know Zecharia Sitchin, and I thought that he was a very wise, intelligent man with a lot of great information, and we are now seeing some of the signs that he had talked about playing themselves in the sky around us. And this very subject of Nibiru is out there, and there are astronauts studying it. So perhaps what he has to say is very truthful, and we're about to find out in a very short period of time. Now, this next one here, this next UFO story comes to us from the UFO probe. UFO probes the ISS on September 24th. If you remember last week, I showed you a clip of the space station, the German space station, and how there were 2 orbs on this. Well, here's another one. Let's take a look at what these orbs are doing right here. Alright, doesn't appear to be doing anything. Looks like, see if we can get this going for you here. Alright, one more try. Okay, then maybe not. as you can see, you're going to see this area right over here where an object does appear. Nothing there at the moment, but you momentarily, okay, there you go. You can see something right in here, and it seems to have almost come out of nowhere. Just kind of faded into view. And momentarily you will see this thing fade out of view. And you can see here, this is from the NASA.gov multimedia /IIS live stream. So it's not like it was hidden somewhere. This was right on their website, and there it goes. It disappeared, faded out of view. Alright, our next story here comes to us. More orbs and strobes with unique movement. This is from Oregon. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, we got well, these are quite a bit of lights out here, and this one definitely looks like it's some sort of craft that is definitely pulsating light. You can see how the light travels around it. The object is somewhat circular. You got a backlight here. Not the kind of thing you necessarily would see on a helicopter or an airplane. Quite fascinating indeed. This was in Oregon on the 24th. Alright. Moving right along to our next story here. Here's another pulsating UFO. See what this one is all about. Okay, and not quite the colorful one like the last one. But you do have, there you go, looks like it's got two of them, and either they're moving real fast or the cameraman is not able to hold the camera straight. But it does look like a couple of objects. They are merging together to form some sort of a light. Alright, that link is available on our page. And our last one here, this is a sighting over at Bellas Artes, the same Mayan temple as Chichen Itza. So let's look at this here. This took place on August 6th, 2011. And we've all seen these types of ships before, the small gray round ones. There were those who said these were possible helium balloons, but there was no wind, no noise, no trees. Nothing indicating that that might be true. Alright. Let's move forward, and as we move forward you can see a little better look. This is certainly not a helium balloon. Alright, just kind of floating around up there. There you go, a little closer up look of it. Okay. Interesting indeed. And that, my friends, that is our UFO news for today. Let me jump ahead to a quick song. I'll be back momentarily, and we will continue on. The song's called Confirm or Deny.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Underground is where they live. In the bases that are secretive. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives? impossible deniability. That's their answer to all we think we see. So pay attention, read between the lines. Changes are happening, revealing lies. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lies?
What's up with their lies? Okay, continuing right along, let's check out our space weather for today. Alright, according to this, spaceweather.com, it says, impact. A mass coronal ejection, otherwise known as a CME, hit Earth's magnetic field at approximately 12:15 Universal Time on September 26th. That's today. The impact caused significant ground currents in Norway. Also, the Goddard Space Weather Lab reports a strong compression of Earth's magnetosphere. Simulations indicate that solar wind plasma has penetrated close to geosynchronous orbit, starting at 1300 Universal Time. Geosynchronous satellites could therefore be directly exposed to solar wind, plasma, and magnetic fields. Stay tuned for updates. Remember the story of the Fantastic Four, how they were dosed with some solar wind? Look what happened to them. They all got superpowers. So maybe we're all going to get some superpowers down here, huh? Now, let's jump down here and we're going to look at our forecast for today. Geomagnetic storm forecast. It shows us that there is a 45% chance, and actually a 30% chance now because this was from yesterday, 30% chance that we're going to have something active going on today. However, minor or severe are much smaller, 20% down to 10%. If you're in higher altitude, you're going to have a little bit more of an opportunity for something to happen of a geomagnetic storm. Okay, and our solar wind, as you can see, is only 411. Something that we want to keep an eye out for is having already, right here, strong solar activity. Having already unleashed 2 X flares since September 22nd, sunspot AR 1302 appears ready for more. The active region has a complex beta-gamma delta magnetic field that harbors energy for strong M and X-class eruptions. Flares from AR 1320 will become increasingly geo-effective as the sunspot turns towards Earth in the days ahead. Alright, now one of the articles here that I want to bring your attention to, because this is certainly a concern that's out there. It says, from the EU Times, super sunblast fears put Russian nuclear plants in lockdown. A frightening report circulating in the Kremlin today, prepared by Federal Atomic Emergency Agency, or Energy Agency, states that emergency notices have gone up to all of Russia's nuclear power plants, warning them that a potential blast from our sun could cause massive power blackouts, could even result in spontaneous atomic explosions. Prompting this unprecedented warning from our sun's unleashing of a massive X 1.9 solar flare from the behemoth sunspot 1302 yesterday, and that is just days away from putting Earth squarely in its sights. That the FAAE report is blaming for the near-total blackout that hit the entire South American nation of Chile within minutes of this event occurring. The FAA further warns that the blackout that occurred in Chile due to yesterday's solar blast was forewarned about by a similar event that occurred earlier this month in the United States after their Southern California and Arizona regions were hit by a massive power blackout on September 8th. Now, it's interesting that in this article they mentioned those because we did get hit by a massive blackout. Unfortunately, some poor chap here in this United States of America, he got blamed for the whole deal, said he hit the wrong switch, and whoops, 3 states lost power. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and this guy got blamed unnecessarily. There's something more, more natural at work, which is the sun giving off its particular radiation that it does. Now, there's a lot going on in Denver. They had the big mass casualty drill, and of course, there's still a lot of activity going on there. And what we have here is a story that came out in August, which talked about the CIA relocating to Denver. It says the CIA has plans to relocate the headquarters of its domestic division from the CIA's Langley headquarters to Denver. According to intelligence officials, the relocation is designed to promote innovation. Some $20 million has already been budgeted for the relocation. The move sparks interest among 9/11 Truth Movement and 2012 doomsayers. Coop Media does admit that this relocation does invoke some interesting questions, like why. Some CIA veterans say that such a relocation would make no sense given Denver's relative distance from major corporate centers. Why would you go so far away, one asked. They will get disconnected. A U.S. intelligence official said the planned move, confirmed by 3 other government officials, is being undertaken for operational reasons. Operational reasons. Well, what do you think those operational reasons are? We're about to find out, because the CIA, as well as many other agencies at this point in time, are in Denver, Colorado. And we are told that they are gathering together at the bunker underneath the Denver airport. Now, we also have the story that came out not long ago of all kind of corporate officials and CEOs leaving. We start off with CEO of Yahoo, Carol Bartz, have been fired over the phone. Mooney resides as head of Disney's consumer products unit. Steve Jobs resigns as CEO of Apple. Bank of America has the exit of 2 executives, Daryl Darnell and Tom Montag. WebSense loses its CFO. Noblecorp said CFO resigns, heading back to EMP. Martha Stewart, CFO named. Time CFO resigns unexpectedly. Drexia CEO resigns. Mobile Alarm CEO resigns as director. Goplin Kirschman has resigned from the post of chief executive September 1st. BHP Coal Mine says CEO Tyker resigns. Robert Kelly, Bank of New York Mellon, resigns on differences in approach. Exoma CEO resigns after 4-year push to go commercial. And we got on and on and on. Of all these CEOs, for some strange reason, have resigned as of recent. So what's going on? Are they going to the Denver airport here? Well, that's our next bit of information. It says, what's going on at the Denver airport for these DEFCON 1 drills? Why is Obama at the DIA, and is there really a base there? Now, these are all very good questions a lot of people have been asking. It says Denver airport is a home to a well-known underground military installation that was talked about on the Tom Marino show just the other day. And there's a link. We have this link to our page on Daily News. It says the second issue at hand is that Tuesday, September 27, 2011, although some online report placed this drill for today, which was on Friday, to be the lockout and the drill of a terrorism-based full-scale emergency exercise. The exercise that took place on Friday involved 81 different agencies, first responders, and they were conducted at 10 separate locations to include loud noises, simulated weapons, smoke emergency vehicles, and other equipment that will be audible and visible throughout the day. 2 of the locations were Park Meadows Mall and Skyridge Medical Center. Alright, so that drill happened. You can find information of it online, but here's the interesting one here. This is the one that definitely applies to us tomorrow. The United States Armed Forces, will be running a DEFCON 1 cocked pistol maximum readiness alert drill on September 27th. Now, as many of you know, Obama and top NASA officials will be in Denver on this date. Many people are aware of NORAD, which is built just outside of Colorado Springs, but many miles just south of Denver International Airport. Colorado is the home of many underground installations, including the Federal Center and dozens of FEMA, Department of Agriculture, Department of Energy facilities, all of which are underground. This is not just for some random reason. Colorado is centrally located and the country is landlocked so well that it is arguably the best defensive position for any military to place its most important assets. Just like how bin Laden went to his mountains in Afghanistan, Colorado is also home to the Rocky Mountains and is the largest metropolis along these mountains. So therefore, not only is Colorado centrally located, it has the advantages of mountains to burrow deep into and protect facilities as well. All in all, these are the reasons you will find many underground installations there. Denver International Airport was built with 50,000 fiber optics, 50,000 cables of fiber optics, 10,000 miles of copper, and over budget by more than 3 times the original amount. It is one thing for a $1.7 billion airport to be off a few hundred million, but to be almost $5 billion on completion, well, that's just a joke. Clearly, something else is there. The question is what? Investigations into fraud were conducted, but most thought it was, when in reality it was probably just a cover for another purpose of construction that could not be disclosed. This is why no one went to jail for the fraud. And all of the Denver media for many years reported on what we thought was embezzlement and fraud. Bear in mind that when they built the airport, the first tram system underground was canceled during construction and they built a new one. The baggage system was also redone. Also, a Denver Post article stated that a 6-story building was built with errors, and they decided to bury the building rather than demo it. Who buries a building? Of course, over the construction, multiple teams were brought in from around the world, and the reality is that the construction managers and teams constantly change, which was all publicized in the Denver press. To make things more obvious, the people behind the fraud investigations in Denver's airport were all very close to defense contractors, and even the Bush family specifically, which many conspiracy theorists say is evidence of all this, meaning there is an underground installation at Denver International Airport. Officially, Denver International Airport is the largest airport in the world by landmass and has 3 backup water systems, 4 backup power generators, an additional 4.5 megawatt solar panel array to be labeled green, and what appear to be 5 or 6 extremely large ventilation shafts, which are officially ventilation shafts and air systems which have never been present at any airport in history. The things look like mini nuclear power reactors, for heaven's sake. And here's a look at these fields. If any of you have ever been out there and driven past these things, which I have, it's quite amazing, and certainly brings a lot of questions to mind of what is going on there. This article is available online for you to check out and read the entire story. Found an interesting picture the other day. Found a picture of Obama. I'm going to see if I can find that. I don't know if I'll find it that quick, but found a picture of Obama posing in front of this mural when he was much younger, when he was said to have been an asset with the CIA. So there's much more to to this picture than what meets the eye. But let's move on, because the plot thickens. Here we have an article that comes to us from presscorps.ca, and according to this article, tunnels to at least 13 underground bases are being sealed off. At least 13 very powerful underground explosions rocked the United States Midwest in the last 48 hours. They registered as small, shallow earthquakes with the USGS. Many of the underground high-explosive detonations registered as 2.6 magnitude earthquakes. The U.S. military is said to be sealing off the tunnels so that the globalist and the U.S. government, Federal Reserve bankers, can't run and hide from what is predicted to occur within 48 hours of September 27th. Officers in the U.S. military didn't seem to be aware of Obama and the globalist plan converging on Denver for a DEFCON 1 nuclear war imminent cock pistol drill. An email was sent to the U.S. Air Force Office for Special Investigations on September 21st to alert them of the planned false flag nuclear detonations on U.S. soil in the American Midwest. The U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations were the ones who raided Citadel Gun and Safe Store in Las Vegas on August 21st to recover stolen nuclear warhead detonators. They were the ones who intercepted the transfer of improvised nuclear warheads by the CIA in tunnels that connected the deep underground military bases on August 23rd. The improvised nuclear bombs W-54 style warheads were being transferred via those tunnels to Washington, D.C. and New York City when they detonated during a firefight between U.S. military personnel and CIA, DHS, FEMA operatives. It would appear the U.S. military has a deadline to meet and has already damaged, destroyed, or sealed at least 13 underground tunnels or bases. Perhaps their incentive was the fact that Obama, his shadow government, and the globalists made plans to save their own hides and leave the rest of us to fend for ourselves. Perhaps they investigated and confirmed another false flag nuclear detonation was imminent and acted accordingly to prevent it. Well, that would be awesome to know that that was the case. I've always, as I said, I've been out on tours of military bases, support to troop types tours. I've met and I know a lot of military personnel around this country. There are a lot of really good men and women, and I'd never believe for an instant, after talking to so many of them, that they are interested in all of the nonsense that's going on with the government and the nonsense of all of their conspiracies. So to hear that some of them might be stepping up to assist, well, that's really good news. And I think it should be good news for all Americans to know that this is par for the course. If you remember, the organization oathkeepers.org, they go around to remind troops, remind military personnel, not only in this country but around the world, that they have an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And many of them are writing in to Oath Keepers. They're making their statements that they have our back, and we should not be worried. So with all of this stuff going on, I think this is a good sign showing that that is exactly, part of the talk, and we'll see how this is all going to play itself out. Now, over the weekend, there was a huge power outage that hit Chile, and this article came out of Reuters. It says a massive power blackout paralyzed crucial copper mines in Chile on Saturday and darkened vast swaths of the country, including the capital Santiago, before energy was largely restored, officials said. The outage acutely exposed the fragility of the energy grid in the world's top copper producer, which is devastated by a powerful earthquake in 2010. Critics have blamed Chilean President Sebastián Piñera for underinvestment in infrastructure, and his popularity rankings have dropped since taking office last year. Prior to the power failure, he was already struggling with massive protests by university students demanding deep educational reforms. Scrambling engineers were able to fully restore power generation and get distribution up to 90% of normal, the government said after the blackout, which lasted a couple of hours in most places. Alright, let me see, I'm going to pull up an article here, see if how quick I can find this one here. Just to remind you, a few months back, let's see here. A few months back, there was an article which talked about how we were going to, here we go. Power grids, this article, remember this one? This one came out in June 24th. It says, a year-long experiment with America's electric grid could mess up traffic lights, security systems, and some computers, and make some plug-in clocks and appliances like programmable coffee makers run up to 20 minutes fast. A lot of people are going to have things break, and they're not going to know why, said Dimitros Metaxas, head of the Time Service Department of the U.S. Naval Observatory, one of two official timekeeping agencies in the federal government. Now, back then, that article may have not really had a lot of validity to it in your mind, but now that we're going through the situation where we've had these power outages, this seems to make a little bit more sense, don't you think? They knew something was coming. They've been tweaking the power grid so that when this energy comes in, it's not going to overwhelm us and overwhelm our grid. And so far, we've only had couple of small instances, but this could be them working on it and trying to make things better and better. So, there's that one here. Let's move on to our next story. Alright, this one here, this is a message from Obama. Obama tells blacks to stop complaining and fight In a fiery summons to an important voting bloc, President Obama told blacks on Saturday to quit crying and complaining and put on your marching shoes to follow him into battle for jobs and opportunity. Although he didn't say it directly for a second term, too. Obama's speech at the annual Anner Awards dinner of the Congressional Black Caucus was his answer to increasingly vocal griping from black leaders, and he's been giving away too much in talks with Republicans, and he's not doing enough to fight black unemployment, which is nearly double the national average for 16.7%. It gets folks discouraged. I know. I listened to some of y'all. Obama told an audience with 3,000 in the darkened Washington Convention Center, but he said blacks need to have faith in the future and understand that the fight won't be won if they don't rally on his side. I need your help, Obama said. The president will need black turnout to match his historic 2008 levels if he's to have a shot at winning a second term. All Saturday's speech was a chance to speak directly to the inner city concerns. He acknowledged blacks have suffered mightily because of the recession and are frustrated that the downturn is taking so long to reverse. So many people are still hurting, so many people are barely hanging on, he said. Then he added, and so many people in the city are fighting us every step of the way. Well, Obama, he's not a friend of anybody down here. He's just, a sham. He's a CIA front. He was put in position a long time. He's been assisting the enemy for such a long period of time. He's a fraud. And if you remember the video that I played last week, and I've talked about not just last week, but many, many times, according to one interpretation from Luke chapter 10, verse 18, the phrase of Jesus, I beheld Satan as lightning from the heights, translated into Aramaic, Jesus' language, translates into Jesus saying that he beheld Satan Barack Obama. Now I know many of you say, oh, this is a silly coincidence. It's not the correct interpretation. Guess what? It's one of the interpretations that's out there. And if that's the case, we have the Antichrist in our very midst as a president of this country. Now what would an Antichrist do? He would lie, wouldn't he? Well, don't we know that there are many things Obama's lying about? We certainly know the issues of his birth certificate. We know that's a fraud. And yet they've managed to convince the mainstream media to be able to go out and continue the propaganda machine, letting people know that, no, it's really not a fraud, even though we know it is. And then, of course, there's his whole background with the CIA. If you want to know more about that, Pastor James David Manning has done a tremendous amount of work in that area. And we did a show with James David Manning in May of 2010, or actually it was April of 2010. So you can go back to find that show to listen to what he says. But here we have a man who is a liar, who is the president, who, according to the words of Jesus, have been translated. The words of Jesus have been translated to saying this man is the Antichrist, and now supposedly this man is going to have his finger on the button tomorrow underneath a bunker, or in a bunker in Denver, Colorado. I don't know what more kind of information you need out there, folks, to know that this is not a good man, and he's not good for this country, and he's only causing problems. Sooner or later, someone's going to get the point. Maybe they're getting it now. Maybe this is the military that's really stepping in, like that article said, and they're going to make sure that this president and his administration is actually going to be brought to justice. We're going to find out, because things are definitely coming to a head on this one. I'm certain of that. Now, let's move on to this next story here. Maybe you are not aware, but there's been a lot going on Wall Street. Protests. Wall Street protesters puffer spray during inequality march. Alright, it says here, scores of protesters were arrested in Manhattan Saturday as a march against social inequality turned violent. Hundreds of people carrying banners and chanting "Shame, shame, shame" walked between Zuccotti Park near Wall Street and Union Square, calling for changes to a financial system they say unjustly benefits the rich and harms the poor. At least 80 people were carted away in police vehicles, and up to 5 were hit with pepper spray near 12th Street and 5th Avenue, where tension became specifically high, police and organizers said. As National Lawyers Guild, which is providing legal assistance to the protesters, put the number of arrests at 100. So go ahead, police. Keep arresting people. Keep arresting people that are stepping up with their First Amendment rights, and then don't be surprised when people turn on you, because people are going to distrust. Remember what I told you? To all of you police officers listening out there, and I know there's many good ones out there, but there's a lot of bad apples that are part of your organizations. And as long as you allow those bad apples to remain there and do nothing about them, then you too are complicit in all of the problems. If you want people to start trusting the police force all around this country, then guess what you need to do? You need to start exposing the bad apples in your organizations and get rid of them. You need to understand that arresting someone for expressing their First Amendment rights is constitutionally wrong. If you are not intelligent enough as a police officer to understand what the Constitution is, then you need to learn what it is, or you need to leave the police officer business, because you have no business doing any sort of security in this country if you don't understand the basic rules and laws. So again, for the ones of you who are out there that are good ones, thumbs up to you. Now do everybody else a favor and get rid of the bad apples. Otherwise, we're going to start lumping the good ones in with all of the bad ones. That's the only way it can go. So you decide what you're going to do, because I know that the people are getting really tired of all of the corrupt police officers out there, and I know that there are many more people than there are police officers in operation out there in the world. So you better decide which side you're on, because things are going to come to a head real quick, and if you don't get on the side of the people, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of the line, and you're going to be very upset with the results when it happens. I'm telling you that, because the people are tired of the lies, and you see them stepping up more and more, and the more that you officers step in and unconstitutionally arrest people, well, don't expect to be treated fairly by people when they turn against you. That's all I have to say. Alright, so now we've come to the end of a show, and a lot of information that's out there, my friends. I want to put this little message up. During these times, what we need to do is we need to choose love and not fear, because that's what is out there. I show you all of this information that I show you, not for you to be afraid, but for you to be aware. Because we don't want to be ignorant of what's going on in the world. We certainly do not want to do that. We want to make sure that we are informed about what is going on, so we could take the proper steps to eliminate the problems and bring peace back to this planet. And we have to know where the bad problems are so we can get rid of them. So let's take a step towards getting rid of these problems right now. And the way we're going to do that, and the way we do that each and every day, is through a meditation. So, let's jump over to today's meditation. Alright. What I'd like you to do, my friends, I'd like you to close your eyes. Close your eyes, and I would like you to imagine. I would like you to imagine that you are seated in the middle of a field. And as you are seated in the field, I want you to look all around you and notice life and nature happening. Look at the grass all around you. Notice the insects and the birds flying in the air. Perhaps some animals running around. You notice a river not far away, and you see the nice gentle breeze blowing through the trees. And you understand the beauty and the majesty of being down here on earth. And with that, you feel blessed to be a part of this creation, to be a part of this thing called life. And as you are experiencing all of these things, I want you to look around and see places where there is darkness in the world. I want you to see people that are putting dark energy into the world. And I want you to send light and love to those places and to those people. And as you send that light and love, what it will do is bring light into those dark places and dissipate the darkness. And as the darkness dissipates and love fills the space, things change. The world changes, people change. Imagine yourself walking along a path now. And as you're walking along, imagine that all of your chakras are turned on, starting with the chakra at the bottom of your spine. The color is red. Raise that energy up above it to the second chakra. The color is orange. From there, raise the energy up to the chakra above it. Imagine the color yellow right at the solar plexus just below the rib cage. And then raise the energy up to the heart chakra and imagine the color green. Raise the energy up higher to the throat. As the throat chakra, imagine the color blue. And from the throat chakra, imagine sending the energy up to the chakra above it, the third eye. Imagine the color violet. And finally, the crown chakra, top of the head, imagine the color indigo and see the light continuing on into the cosmos, bright white light. Now, you got all this energy flowing through your body. You should see and feel all this multicolored energy. And allow this energy to expand till your body becomes so full that it overflows your body. And as it overflows and it fills the space around you, and then it extends outward further and fills your neighborhood with this protective light, and then out into the city, to the state where you live, into the country where you live, and then across the sea all around the world. And imagine at this moment, everybody listening to this is sending protective energy out to protect them families, protect their homes. And let us send this energy now down, collectively down to the planet to help protect the planet. And send this light of protection up to protect the cosmos. Protect us from anything harmful that may be coming down our way. And to allow anything loving pass that is meant for our good benefit. Last but not least, imagine sending love from your heart chakra all around the planet. Imagine the color green and just see this green color love coating the planet over and over. Over and over as more and more people send love. And again, send this love to the planet to nurture the planet Earth, going through the growing pains and the changes she is going through. And up to the cosmos to allow the universe to feel the love coming off of this planet. To let the space brothers and space sisters up there know of the love that is coming towards them from those down here on this planet. To let the universe know that there is more good than bad down here on this planet. And trust that the universe will provide us the way to alleviate all of the bad so that we can keep the good. Now, having thought of all of these things, of love, of protection, of light, let us bring our energy and attention back to the present moment, and we'll do so on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. That, my friends, is the end of a show. It's the end of our prayer and meditation. Go out in the world today and be safe, my friends. Keep your wits about you. That's the message I'm kind of spreading to everyone that I know. This week there's a lot of things going on. A lot going on. All you have to do is just do a simple search to find out what's going on the 27th of September, and you will find so many things that are coinciding that it will help you to understand that this is a time that we need to pay attention to. So keep your wits. If there's anything you see or experience that might seem to be beyond the ordinary, or something that you haven't experienced before, keep an open mind and keep your wits so that you can make clear decisions about anything that needs to happen in your life. We're all in this together, my friends. We can all make it through this together. We just got to keep thinking positive thoughts, and everything's going to work itself out just fine. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I'll be back again tomorrow. Till then, be safe. Peace. I'm out of here.